So I want to ask you a question. What happens when your own eyes lie to you?
Hmm.
And I don't mean that as a metaphor. Imagine a video drops on your timeline. It's maybe a global leader or a family member or a whistleblower.
Right.
The lips match the words perfectly. The ambient light catches the subtle sweat on their brow. The shadows cast across the room are mathematically flawless. It looks, moves, and feels as real as the hand in front of your face.
But it never actually happened.
Exactly, it never happened. Welcome to this deep dive. I'm your host, and today we are tearing apart the mechanics of a profound shift in human history, the 2026 AI video revolution.
It's a huge topic.
It really is. We're looking at the terrifying potential of hyper-realistic generative video, the quiet upheaval currently gutting Hollywood, the absolute panic inside global newsrooms, and really what it means for you sitting there listening right now, having officially crossed the threshold into the post-reality era.
Yeah, and it really is a crossing of the Rubicon. And to understand the sheer scale of the threat here, we have to look at the operating system of human perception itself.
Right. Break that down for us.
Well, modern society was built on a very simple, very foundational axiom. For over a century, seeing was believing.
Seeing is believing, right.
And that wasn't just like a catchy idiom. It was the functional bedrock of how we establish truth. And the year 2026 is the exact moment that axiom was irreversibly shattered.
Shattered. The word shattered implies something broken that just cannot be put back together.
Exactly. There's no undoing this.
And I keep thinking about this shift almost like the invention of the photograph, but running in reverse.
Oh, that's an interesting way to frame it.
Yeah, like think about the 19th century. When early photography arrived, it brought this unprecedented era of objective, undeniable reality to the masses, right?
Right, because before the camera, you had to trust the painter's interpretation.
Exactly. Or a witness's highly fallible memory. Truth was inherently subjective back then. But the photograph, it froze light. It gave us a shared, literal baseline of truth that we essentially built the 20th century upon. And what we're dealing with now is the exact mechanism dismantling that objectivity.
Right.
It literally feels like the uninventing of the photograph.
That's a really sharp analogy because photography created a permanent physical record of light bouncing off a real object.
At a specific moment in time.
Yes. It was an empirical anchor. And our justice system, our journalism, our historical archives, they are all tethered to that anchor.
Yeah.
But the technological leaps we've seen in generative video AI models have completely severed that tether.
Completely.
And it's vital to understand the specific metrics of their capability that made this possible. We are dealing with systems of rendering footage that is 8K resolution, photorealistic, and this is the crucial part, physics accurate.
Right.
It is the combination of these elements that permanently erases the border between reality and simulation.
I actually want to pause on that term, physics accurate, because generating a human face that looks real in a still image, that's old news. We've had that capability for a while.
We have, yeah.
But what does it actually mean for a video's physics to be accurate? Like, why is that specific metric the tipping point that fools our brains?
Well, because our brains are highly evolved prediction engines. You have to remember, we have spent millions of years existing in a physical universe governed by strict rules.
Okay, right.
So we intuitively know how a heavy wool coat should drape over a moving shoulder. Or how a glass of water should refract light, or how a shadow should distort when it falls across uneven ground.
Like we process these rules subconsciously.
Exactly. We don't think about it, we just know it. And when early AI video attempted to replicate reality, it failed the physics test.
Right, the weird morphing hands and stuff.
Yes. Limbs morphed, textures floated, shadows didn't align with the apparent light source in the room.
That was the glitch in the Matrix. Like, we could feel something was deeply wrong, even if we couldn't always articulate exactly what it was.
Right, the uncanny valley.
The uncanny valley, exactly.
And that uncanny valley was your brain's biological security system flagging a visual threat. It recognized a violation of the laws of physics and rejected the image.
Wow.
But physics-accurate models don't just paste pixels together. They simulate the underlying reality.
Wait, what do you mean simulate?
They calculate the exact volumetric lighting scattering through the atmosphere. They process fluid dynamics. They understand subsurface scattering.
Subsurface scattering.
Yeah, that's the way light penetrates human skin, and illuminates the blood vessels underneath before bouncing back to the camera lens.
Oh, wow. So they aren't just like drawing a picture.
Yeah.
They are literally running a localized simulation of the universe.
They are. And when you pair that absolute physical precision with 8K resolution.
Which is just an overwhelming density of visual data.
Exactly. The brain receives zero warning signals. The subconscious alarm bells remain totally silent. Your biological firewall is bypassed entirely.
Which means the mechanism of deception has been perfected.
Completely.
And we are watching the immediate economic fallout of that perfection play out in real time. I mean, this is no longer a theoretical lab experiment or some quirky tech demo on Twitter.
No, it's actively remaking multi-billion-dollar industries.
Starting with entertainment. Because Hollywood studios are currently replacing their massive visual effects pipelines with prompt engineers.
Yep.
But what stands out to me in the text is that they are doing this quietly. Like, why the secrecy? Actually, it makes me think of a master illusionist performing in Las Vegas, right?
Okay.
Imagine he realizes he doesn't need his $1 million trapdoors, his mirrors, and all that complex stage rigging anymore because he literally found a magic wand.
Right, he's not going to tell anyone.
Of course he's going to hide it. He doesn't want the audience to know his grand finale was generated while he was eating a sandwich backstage.
That's spot on. Because the perceived value of entertainment has historically been tethered to the sheer effort and scale of the production. Think about what a traditional visual effects pipeline entails for a major blockbuster. It is a staggering logistical and financial undertaking.
Oh, yeah. Thousands of people.
Right. You have concept artists, 3D modelers building geometry, riggers creating digital skeletons.
Animators, lighting artists.
Texture artists, exactly. And you have massive render farms. These are literal warehouses of servers running at maximum capacity, chewing through electricity for months just to output a 3-minute photorealistic sequence.
It takes hundreds of people and tens of millions of dollars.
And now, that entire industrial complex, all of that human labor and server heat, is being compressed into a single person sitting at a keyboard.
It's wild. Just one prompt engineer iterating a photorealistic dragon attack or like a sprawling alien cityscape on a Tuesday afternoon.
Exactly. And the friction of creation has dropped so close to zero that studios risk commoditizing their own product.
How so?
Because if the audience understands that it takes 3 seconds and a text prompt to create a breathtaking visual spectacle, the monetary value of that spectacle just plummets.
Right. The magic is gone.
So the studios are making this transition quietly to maintain the illusion of high-cost prestige while dramatically getting their operational overhead. They want you to experience the awe of the simulation without ever seeing the algorithmic machinery behind the curtain.
The spectacle remains, but the sweat equity is entirely gone. But, you know, if Hollywood's primary goal is to perfect the art of the trick, to seamlessly deceive us for our own entertainment, that sets up a pretty horrific collision course for the rest of society.
It absolutely does.
Because while the entertainment industry leans into the illusion, global news agencies are looking down the barrel of a loaded gun. If Hollywood wants to trick us, what happens to the institutions tasked with reporting actual facts?
Well, journalism is under siege right now. We're witnessing a high-stakes arms race where news organizations are frantically scrambling to develop cryptographic verification for authentic footage.
Right.
On one side of this war, you have generative models infinitely producing perfect visual lies at zero marginal cost.
And on the other side?
On the other side, you have news agencies desperately trying to build mathematical proofs to verify a single visual truth.
Let's break down the mechanics of that arms race because it's fascinating. When we say cryptographic verification, we aren't just talking about, like, slapping a watermark logo in the corner of a screen, right?
No.
Right.
Far from it.
So how does this actually work to prove a video is real?
Think of it as a digital chain of custody. You know, much like the physical evidence bags police use at a crime scene.
Okay.
If the seal on the bag is broken or the log is missing a signature, the evidence is thrown out of court.
Right, it's inadmissible.
Exactly. So camera manufacturers and news organizations are attempting to build hardware-level hashing into the physical camera sensors themselves.
The actual sensor.
Yes. So the exact millisecond light hits the lens and is recorded. A microchip stamps the file with an encrypted mathematical hash.
So the file is essentially sealed before it can even be viewed or edited.
Precisely. And that hash is registered to a secure, decentralized ledger. It acts as mathematical proof that the footage was captured by a specific physical device at a specific GPS coordinate at a specific time.
Wow.
If a single pixel is altered after that moment, the math breaks. The cryptographic seal is shattered, and the footage is instantly flagged as compromised.
I mean, look at what that does to our daily consumption of information. Think about scrolling your feed, You see a video of a conflict in a foreign city or a protest or a natural disaster.
Hmm.
Historically, you watched the video, processed what you saw, and absorbed the information.
You trusted your eyes.
Right. Moving forward, the raw video clip is automatically assumed to be a fabrication unless it carries that complex mathematical chain of custody proving its authenticity. You can no longer trust the image. You have to trust the invisible math attached to the image.
It is a complete reversal of the burden of proof for human knowledge.
Yep.
For a century, the default assumption was authenticity. The burden of proof lay in exposing the forgery. Finding the airbrushed lines, the mismatched shadows, the spliced tape.
Right, you had to prove it was fake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in this landscape, the default assumption must be fabrication. The raw video file itself is inherently suspect. It's meaningless noise until its cryptographic metadata proves it was captured by a physical lens at a physical location.
And that explains the absolute panic in newsrooms right now. They aren't just trying to spot fakes, they are trying to patch a catastrophic leak in the very hull of our shared information ecosystem.
Yes.
Because if news agencies cannot definitively prove a video is real, they are paralyzed. They literally cannot report the news. And that paralysis is the gateway to the ultimate society-wide conclusion of this collision. We cross this threshold and we land in what is formally being called the post-reality era.
Post-reality era. And the defining characteristic of this era is chilling in its simplicity.
What is it?
It's that digital illusions are indistinguishable from captured reality. And no, the terminology there, not difficult to tell apart. Indistinguishable. The biological and technological ability to differentiate between an event that occurred in the physical world and an event synthesized by a neural network has dropped to absolute zero.
Which raises a monumental problem. I mean, we cannot frame this simply as a tech glitch or, a new media literacy challenge for schools to teach.
And it's much bigger than that.
This represents a total collapse of shared reality. Society, at its core, is a contract. It's an agreement that we all exist in the same physical world, bound by the same events. If a crime is committed, if a war breaks out, if an election occurs, we rely on empirical evidence to build a consensus on what happened.
Right.
If we cannot agree on what we literally see with our own eyes, how does the justice system function? How does international diplomacy work?
It fundamentally destabilizes any institution built on empirical evidence. I mean, if a video of a world leader declaring a nuclear strike can be generated flawlessly in seconds, and the cryptographic verification is either missing or stripped away or disputed by bad actors...
The panic is immediate.
Right. The resulting confusion can trigger real-world catastrophes before the truth is ever established. We are looking at the creation of an epistemic void. Reality itself becomes subjective, treated as a matter of preference rather than empirical fact.
We are just floating in a digital vacuum where everything is possible and therefore nothing is certain.
And that introduces the most insidious threat of the post-reality era, which is the liar's dividend.
The liar's dividend.
Yes, because the primary danger isn't just that people will believe the fake videos. It is that people will use the existence of perfect fake videos to deny real ones.
Oh, wow.
It creates a universal, plausible excuse to dismiss any visual evidence that contradicts a preconceived worldview or a political narrative.
Oh, I see. So imagine a CEO caught on tape admitting to massive fraud, or a politician recorded taking a bribe.
Right.
In the past, that video ends their career immediately.
Done.
But in the post-reality era, they simply look at the camera and say, that's an AI fabrication.
Exactly.
And because perfectly indistinguishable fakes exist all around us, that defense is incredibly potent.
It's undeniable.
The existence of the perfect fake creates a permanent shield for terrible realities. That's the liar's dividend. The very concept of accountability just evaporates.
The entire architecture of our society relies on accountability. When everything can be faked, everything can be denied. The post-reality era doesn't just change what we see. It forces us to confront the extreme fragility of our own understanding of the world.
The architecture of our world is literally being rewired from the ground up. I mean, we've moved from the shattering of the century-old axiom that seeing is believing, driven by the sheer physical accuracy and 8K density of generative models hacking our biological firewalls, to watching Hollywood quietly strip out its multi-million-dollar visual effects pipelines just to commoditize the spectacle.
Right.
while global news agencies frantically try to build cryptographic chains of custody just to prove a camera actually recorded a moment in time, all of it culminating in this epistemic void where reality is a matter of preference.
It is a complete structural shift in how human beings interface with information. It demands a hypervigilance that human neurology is simply not adapted for.
And that brings this directly back to you listening to this deep dive right now. The post-reality era isn't some science fiction concept arriving in a distant future.
No, it's here.
It's the screen in your hand. It's the monitor on your desk. Every video feed, every breaking news clip, every viral moment you watch from 2026 onward is now a suspect in a post-truth world. The burden is no longer on the image to simply exist.
Right.
The burden is on the system to mathematically prove it isn't a ghost.
We're standing at the edge of a landscape where our most trusted sense has been fundamentally compromised.
Which leaves us with a pretty haunting question to consider as we close. If perfect AI video renders digital evidence completely useless, if we can no longer trust any screen anywhere, will human society be forced to regress centuries?
It's a real possibility.
Will we find ourselves relying entirely on in-person physical witnesses and tangible physical objects to establish truth in our courtrooms and our history books?
Relying only on what we can touch.
Right. A digital dark age lit by 8K resolution. Trust nothing you see. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.